Hey everybody, how you doing? What's happening out there in the world of bass? I'm here at my crib in Colorado, and I'm going to do my second installment of bass lessons for Bass Players United, my friends at Bass Players United. As promised, I've been meaning to get this one out here, and today I want to tell you guys about my philosophy or my concepts for soloing over one chord. Now, sometimes when we're in a band, we get an opportunity to do a bass solo in the show, and it only happens once. And you know, unless we're in a fusion band or something like that, or a jazz kind of outfit, the bass doesn't solo all the time. Usually we're playing bass, we're doing the fundamental thing that we need to be doing. But we do get our chance to shine occasionally, and sometimes it's a daunting task for a bass player. A lot of cats are just, you know, hey, I'm the bass player, I like to do the fundamental stuff, and I'm cool with that. But there's some fun ways to solo to feature the bass, and you can do it in a way without getting too stressed out about it. You just do it. Just think of it in terms of soloing over one chord. Now, sometimes people think that it gets a little boring soloing over one chord, and they run out of ideas. But I've found some ways to do it using scales. So the number one most important thing that I always try to do is is selecting the right song to solo in. You know, you want to have a good tempo. If the tempo is too fast and you jump into your solo with a lot of subdivision, you can run out of gas real fast. You see what I'm saying? You can't keep up with it. So what I always suggest is to pick a song with a nice medium tempo to solo in, and do something that I call, you know, establish the groove at the beginning of the solo. Meaning, when the solo starts, don't just immediately start playing a bunch of subdivision and riffs. First, establish something, you know, something that's got a groove. So say you're in G and you're playing a song that has an eighth note feel. Like, that's the main bass line of the song, okay? When it comes time to do the bass solo, so you set up a feel and you set up a groove that'll be the foundation of the bass solo first. And you use repetition to establish it, okay? And then what happens is it becomes implied. So the listener starts to feel that studum, studum, stabadum, studum, studum, boop, ba-doo, ba-doo, studum. Studum, right? So you establish that, and then start breaking away from it with some licks, some riffs, using different scales. And the ones that I like to use are the obvious ones. First of all, the minor pentatonic. Say, we're in the key of G. So you've got, that's one of your go-to places, is your minor pentatonic. And the other thing that's important is, don't be afraid. You know, it can be kind of a nervous time, you know, that kind of red light fever when it's your turn to solo, is to stay cool, stay calm, and just stay relaxed, you know. Let some notes be notes. Let them ring, and use some subtle things like a little bit of vibrato. because when you let notes ring and let them have a beginning, a middle, and an end, in the context of the PA system and in the live situation, they really have a big, huge effect. You see what I'm saying? The simplest line, just going, sounds great in a big PA. So at the beginning of your solo, let the notes have some sustain to them, you know, and put a little something on them, you know, put a little, you know, little subtle things like that go a long, long way in this process of putting together a tasteful bass solo. Okay, so we set up and establish that groove, get it to where it's implied, and then start breaking away. I started with the minor pentatonic scale. Another one that I use a lot is the blues scale. So within your groove, again, repetition. And some bends. Now, again, that's kind of one of the more obvious places to go, the minor pentatonic, the blues scale, right? Just on that one chord, that G chord. Now here's a couple of interesting and fun places you can go that take it to a different kind of place of tonality, and it makes it feel like it's harmonically changing and melodically changing, and it's getting a bit more musical or sophisticated sounding, simply by using the diminished scale. First of all, is one of them. So you're in your G, so you can launch off of a diminished scale from a half step below tonic. So your G is your key, G is home, G is where your groove is based out of, your solo groove, but then you can go down a half step to F sharp and blaze up and down. Right? Blaze up and down a diminished scale starting on F sharp, a half step below tonic. Or you can go up a whole step and blaze up and down a diminished scale. And that's a nice transition to get you up into a different register on the instrument. Okay, so now you've got three go-to places. Now you've got three. Minor pentatonic, blues scale, and the diminished scale. Either a half step below tonic or a half step above tonic. Either one resolves great. And the reason that it sounds cool is it creates what's called tension and release. G is home, G is the key. When we go to that diminished scale, and then it resolves back to tonic really nicely. The scale creates tension, and then releasing back to tonic gets it back to center. Okay, another cool one is the whole tone scale. So another one that's not used that much. A saxophone player buddy of mine hit me to using the whole tone scale in this same context, soloing over one chord to keep it sounding interesting. And the ways that it works well is, if we're in G, you can do your whole tone scale launching it off of from a whole step below tonic. So we're in G. See what I'm saying? So off of the F natural, playing up and down a whole tone scale. The other one is going up a minor third above tonic, which would be B flat in G. And that one also resolves back to the one, really cool. So now you've got several different options. You can go to the minor pentatonic, the blues scale, the diminished scale, either a half step below tonic or above tonic, or the whole tone scale starting a whole step below tonic or minor third above tonic. So all of that is going to work just fine over that one chord, you know. And some other cool ones, let's see, well, you could just use the basic, the pure minor scale. Slip in the harmonic minor scale, which is the same as a pure minor scale with a raised to 7th scale degree. Get your Egyptian vibe on. You know, there's other ones you could do this on. Take it to different cool places, all within, this is all based around kind of a minor-y, kind of an eerie sounding kind of a vibe, and it gives it the, you know, using these different scales also gives it kind of this like sort of ethnic vibe, you know. It takes it to like, you know, these Egyptian kind of places or whatever within the context of the types of pitches that you're using. Don't be afraid to bend some notes, let some notes sustain, and just keep building it that way. Going back to home, going back to that main groove, and then breaking away with your licks, taking your time, letting the notes ring, using some vibrato, some bends, you could use some trills. And never be afraid to get to utilize repetition. Repetition is one of the most effective things in any solo. In fact, particularly when you're ending your solo, you need to kind of think of your solo as its own little compositional scenario, and it should have a beginning, it should have a middle, and it should have an end. And ideally at the end you'd like to have it have some kind of crescendoing kind of climaxy thing, and that's a good time to, number one, start to really incorporate repetition and also subdivision. This is when you can get real fast, you know, and bust out the big guns, you know what I'm saying? What I sometimes do is, we're in this G, and again, it's at a tempo that leaves me enough room to incorporate subdivision. Meaning, when I bust into 16th notes or 32nd notes, I can do them. I can keep up with the tempo because I'm starting at a medium tempo. So then I might establish some sort of repetition. Then I start climbing chromatically, building tension and building that crescendo, climbing up the neck using some sort of repetition, a repetitious pattern of 3 or 4 notes, and I'm building subdivision and I'm climbing chromatically simultaneously. The crowd goes wild. So, there's a few things that I suggest for the cat that's looking for a way to make a tasteful bass solo without getting too complex with the harmony, just kind of centering it around one tonal center, one tonic, and then utilizing scales and some different and unusual scales to take it to different places. Remembering to leave space, remembering to use some subtle things like bends and vibrato. Oh, and don't forget about some grease. You know, get some of that in there, and utilize repetition. Find a way to climax using repetition and build your solo so that it has a crescendo, and then when you come out of that solo, you can sense, you know that it's coming. Look around to the band sees that you're getting ready to end, they hear that big crescendo, they hear that subdivision, it's climbing, 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 bow, boom, come out of your solo, you know, come out of your solo is smelling like roses, and you know, that's the ideal scenario. You know, bass solos, they can go either way. You know, sometimes I don't feel like playing a bass solo and someone says, take a bass solo, and I do, and it sucks, you know what I'm saying? There's other times when the tempo is right, it feels right, I'm warmed up, I'm in the zone, and I can really nail it. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of factors that play into having a solo come off good. Don't get don't get discouraged if one night it's you know, it's totally happening, and the next night it's okay. You know, I think that I've played, you know, 15,000 okay solos, and you know, 5 that were, you know, fantastic or whatever. You see what I'm saying? Just the fun part is to just try it and to challenge ourselves to do it. Now, you know, hey, you know, sometimes taking a solo isn't your thing at all, but maybe now with some different ways to look at it, you might be able to experiment with it. Go into your band rehearsal, you know, find a good song within your set list and say, hey, let's kind of like think about where we're going to put the bass solo so that we can make the best of it, the best for the band. Because let's face it, it's not just about the bass player. The solo of the bass reflects on the entire performance of the band. So if you can deliver a really strong bass solo and have it be cool and musical and take the audience to this fun, cool place that features the instrument, you know, and it has that beginning and that middle and that end and that continuous groove that's implied throughout the whole thing, and then that great crescendo getting out of it, it's win-win for everybody. So have fun with that, and thanks again to everybody at Bass Players United. You know, I appreciate everything, you know, all the support, and you know, it's a real honor to just, you know, put out something that hopefully some people can get something from. You know, I love playing bass, and I love sharing what I know, and maybe some of it's something that you can use. So thanks again to Adam Phillips and everybody. Rock on.